I would like to invite Inbar Badian, Principal Product Strategy and Innovation Manager at Microsoft. Inbar, the stage for you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here today, and I see some familiar faces, so good to see you. And today, with all the great things that you heard about quantum theory, I want to take it into practice. So as a quick introduction, my name is Inbar Badian, and I'm leading strategic innovation within the CTO office of Microsoft Security, and I'm leading the Quantum Safe program and basically all the efforts related to that across the company globally. So today, we're going to talk about what we see and the shift that we see from quantum to security and what we are doing to tackle this as part of Microsoft. So when we talk about quantum technology, we see, and you heard about it earlier today, a lot of progress, developments, and achievements. And it's super exciting, but there's so many unknowns around the technology. And for some of us, it can cause some panic, right? I mean, we don't really know what we don't know. But today, I want to talk about the opportunity here that we can take all the uncertainties surrounding this technology and shift it to security actions that we can already take today. So let's start with a brief history. I'm sure that you're familiar with the faces. Feynman and Deutsch, who introduced us with the early concepts of quantum computing. Moving to Shor and Grover, who introduced us with quantum algorithms, Shor's algorithm and Grover algorithm, bringing the theory into reality, demonstrating how quantum computing potentially solve complex problems in more efficient ways than classical computers. And then in the 2000s, we see how the concepts went into reality and into practice with more and more POC experiments and demonstrations coming from multiple companies, and then later on announcements about commercially available quantum machines and multiple advancements within those efforts. Since then, the development is even faster, and we see more and more speed-ups, scalability, in terms of qubits, speed-ups, and you name it, and we see it all around from hardware to software. And the amazing thing about it is that we're moving through quantum advantage, and we at Microsoft see, we divided it into 3 levels. When level 1 is the foundational level, when we talk about the qubits, the number of qubits, and then moving to level 2, to logical qubits, and then all the way ultimately to level 3, the scalability with quantum supercomputer. So the most fascinating and exciting thing about it, at least to me, is that there's so many things that the future holds that we don't even know. There's so much things to learn, achieve, and discover about this technology, but on the other hand, there's so much that we don't know and will need to understand and explore about the impact of this technology, and especially on the classical infrastructures that we have today, and on so many fields in our lives. And as I said, for some of us, it may cause panic. So we all understand that quantum computers are going to be a game changer for humanity, and specifically for cryptography, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But before that, we all understand that quantum machines will allow us to perform operations that at this point are unfeasible for classical computers to solve in a feasible time frame. They have the potential to revolutionize many fields in our lives. They basically will allow us to perform operations that, as we said, are not capable today for the classical machines. But it's important to remember that they will not allow us to solve everything faster, but there is some impact that we will see in specific areas. So first of all, it was discovered that quantum computing will be particularly valuable with small data sets requiring exponential speedups, quantum speedups. So we can take, for example, the simulation problems and optimization problems, which fit under this bucket. And we also see a great potential to impact scenarios that model and seek to understand the underlying of nature, such as chemicals and material sciences. And of course, that we can't move on without mentioning the AI revolution around us. So quantum machine will enable potentially to perform faster operations within machine learning, and by that, to accelerate the AI revolution that we experience right now. So basically, quantum computers, we understand that will impact many fields in our lives in various areas. We mentioned chemistry, traffic, so many good things that they can do. And specifically at Microsoft, through Azure Quantum and all the different applications that we build on top of it, leveraging AI, we aim to not just improve productivity, but through that, to achieve improvement in scalability of the technology, speed ups, and accuracy. But we're not here, at least from my side, to talk about quantum computing because you had half a day about it. I want to talk about the impact on security. And with all the good things that quantum computers will bring to our lives, as we just discussed, it can also put a threat on encryption and the cryptography being used today in most of our systems. As we all know, encryption is the core of security. Basically, we're using encryption everywhere that we have data, right? And you can see here some of the examples, but the good thing that I love about encryption is that we don't need to think about it when it all works, right? But when we do think about it, there means that there's a problem, and usually it's a problem that you want to tackle as soon as possible. So today, our encryption and most of our communication protocols rely on two math problems, discrete logarithm and factoring. And those problems are considered unfeasible to solve by classical computers, which the computational power is limited, and we trust those mathematical problems to be the baseline for most of the encryption and cryptography algorithms being used in our system. But it was proven that the quantum algorithm that we just mentioned, Shor's and Grover's, will be able to solve those problems if applied on a strong enough quantum machine. So just to better understand why, Shor's algorithm is a quantum algorithm, of course, that can factor large numbers much faster than a classical computers when applied on a quantum machine, because it basically reduces the number of steps required to reveal the private key associated with the public key. The baseline for asymmetric encryption is basically, and we all know it, that we have two different keys, the private one and the public one. And as soon as we unveil the private key, then asymmetric encryption would be the first one to fall. The second quantum algorithm that I want to mention is Grover's algorithm. It allows a user to search through a disordered list to find a specific item, which is considered to be a complex problem for classical computers. But again, if we apply this algorithm on a quantum computer, it will reduce the number of operations required to solve this problem, and by that, to reveal the hash and to put symmetric encryption at risk by basically revealing the private key. For symmetric encryption, we have only one key, the private key. So by finding the hash, it will allow us to find the symmetric key. But we will talk about the fact that symmetric encryption can practically be considered as quantum safe today. So with that in mind, luckily for us in security, the quantum machines that we have today are incapable to put an immediate threat on encryption because basically the size of the quantum machines, their power is still limited, and it can be used only for specific research effort and specific applications. And we still see in the ecosystem researchers questioning when quantum computers will be able to solve the mathematical problems behind encryption and basically to put a threat on encryption. And some of them think that it might take between 5 to 10 years. Others say that it might take even more. And some are more optimistic and think that it will be in the near future. And for us at Microsoft, I do want to shed some light on how we see the progress of quantum computing and the applications and when exactly each of them will be feasible. So as you can see here in the graph, we're still not at the stage where quantum computers are capable of putting a real threat on encryption or to solve any real-world problem or application. And as discussed before in the lectures that you have, we're moving, at the beginning it was slowly, but now we see that the progress is much faster to expand the number of qubits. We're moving from physical qubits to logical qubits, reducing the error rate. So the progress is huge, but we can see here that for cryptanalysis, which is the set of applications that will put a threat on encryption, so here we see RSA, Diffie-Hellman, ECC, elliptic curve, which are the asymmetric algorithms being used today in most of our communication protocols. We see that we will need at least 2 million qubits, physical qubits. And at Microsoft, to better understand those assumptions, we developed a concrete tool, the Azure Quantum Resource Estimator, allowing us to demonstrate a quantum machine and which operations it would be able to run and perform eventually. And specifically here, we developed a common implementation of Shor and Grover and a few implementations of classical algorithms. Specifically here, you can see that we implemented RSA, ECC, and AES, the red part. And from the plots here, we can see clearly see that the threat on asymmetric encryption will be real in the foreseen future. We can see that basically it will take between 10 to 15 years. We can see here from the results of the tool that basically it will be even an even higher number for the physical qubits, but the threat will become real. Unlike symmetric encryption, as we can see on the left with the red plot, we can see that Grover's algorithms, we do not expect it to impact AES or any symmetric encryption because the timeline to run the algorithm and actually reveal the hash will be longer than the age of the universe. So for us, the first priority is to tackle asymmetric encryption, and then of course we will need to consider the implications to symmetric encryption and to revisit it, but for now we consider symmetric encryption as quantum safe, resistant to both classical and quantum computers. With that, even though the threat is not immediate, it's important to remember that the journey to achieve quantum safety across all our systems and services will take time, and the sooner we started, the better. First of all, we all know that our secrets and sensitive information is already available today, and specifically if we think about information that would be valuable for more than 10 or even 20 years from now, there are some attackers and adversaries that record the information today. So as soon as they have a cryptography-relevant quantum computer available, they would be able to decrypt the information and read our data. So this is a new attack vector that we see. Most of our customers, most of the ecosystem is concerned about this attack. So harvest now, decrypt later. Don't forget this new attack vector. Another thing that I want to mention is the scale of the transition to become quantum safe, to basically understand all the gaps that we have with our cryptography and then to remediate it, to replace the algorithms. We know that this process is going to be a multi-year process, it's going to be an iterative process, and it's not going to be an easy one. It's going to be a complex one, unlike other cryptography transitions that we had in the past. We can expect that this process is here to stay, and it's only the beginning. And I do want to explain why we think that this is going to be a more complex one than previous transitions that we had in the past. So just to set the stage for cryptography, We all remember we introduced with basically most of the cryptography being used today in the 1970s, DES, Diffie-Hellman systems, RSA. At that time, we also introduced with the lattice-based cryptography, which is being the basic mathematical problems for the post-quantum cryptography algorithms being developed today. And then with all the advancements in computing power, we've been introduced with AES, who replaced DES. So from those names here, we understand that this is the cryptography that we use today, right, from the 70s, and no real changes. Maybe the key size or implementation changes, but if we think about it, cryptography remained the same. But the attacks on cryptography and the vulnerabilities that we experienced are not going to end, and it's going to be more and more frequent as we progress. So we can see here a few examples, and I'll highlight a few of them, but we can see that cryptographic changes that we had in the past and vulnerabilities that we experienced in the past caused not just business, but IT chaos since it was discovered, and we still experience some of the impact of those attacks today. So, for example, a notable example that I want to mention is the transition from SHA-1 to SHA-2, that we still see the impact. MD5, which was discovered to be unsafe, but we still see usage of MD5 in some of the systems being used today. Heartbleed, the Heartbleed bug that were introduced in OpenSSL and caused chaos for the ecosystem and for the internet. And we see more and more the Terabust, Terabit in late 2023, and it's only the beginning, and the list goes on. On top of it, and this is one of the most interesting stuff here, we see it's not just the classical cryptography, it's also the new cryptography being developed today, the post-quantum cryptography, and we already see some cryptography challenges and attacks being made on those new algorithms. So for example, only recently in April, we saw some implementations of Kyber, which is expected to be one of the algorithms, PQC algorithms for key exchange that were broken, and it caused chaos for researchers that, oh my God, PQC is gone. But no, it was just a few implementations, but just think about a case where you have hard-coded implementations, right? Another situation that I want to mention is that we saw users using Chrome who enabled PQC in their latest Chromium version, reporting on problems to connect to firewalls and servers because of the adoption of PQC. And another notable blog that was published recently who claimed to break lattice-based cryptography, and then the world for some of us was over, but then we saw that there was a bug in the mathematical proof, so all good, but for now. And it puts a question mark on what will happen if we have all those cryptography vulnerabilities. What will happen when we will really have the cryptography-relevant quantum computer available, right? I mean, what will be the future? So there's two ways that we can go from here, as I see it. First of all, we can panic, of course, and say, okay, we're gone. We'll just wait to see what will happen, and then we'll adjust accordingly. But what I want to say is that we also have the opportunity to embrace the understanding that cryptography is going to go through multiple changes. And it's not just the beginning, because we saw that there were already changes with cryptography. But now it's an opportunity to start to think about cryptography in a different way and start to manage cryptography more holistically and as a security mechanism. So we understand that the quantum safe journey is not a quantum problem, but it's actually a security problem, and more specifically, a cryptography problem that should be prioritized and addressed holistically. Moving now from panic to concrete security actions. So for us, the quantum safe journey is a top priority. We are not just creators of the quantum technology, but also a security provider, so we understand the two sides of the coin. We're also system managers, understanding complex IT environments, service providers, and of course, security providers with end-to-end solutions. So for us, we understood how we need to tackle and why we need to tackle this quantum safe journey and the cryptography changes to follow in a holistic way. We established the Microsoft Quantum Safe program to address those challenges in a holistic way across the organization and with our ecosystems. Charlie Bell, EVP for Microsoft Security, is our executive sponsor, and the Quantum Safe journey became a top priority for the company, with executives basically from all across the company working together with us as one team, from Quantum, from the cloud team, from security, you name it, working together to make sure that we have one strategy so we can, one, transition Microsoft, second, help our customers on top of our services, but also with tools. And lastly, to work with the ecosystems and not only raise awareness to those new challenges, but to advance the ecosystem towards the adoption of quantum safe solutions. We took some key principles for the quantum safe journey, and I do want to highlight that other than setting concrete goals, because we understand that the process is going to be huge, it was important to identify all the relevant teams, to understand which security mechanism we can adopt for the process or which new mechanisms we need to implement, which standards we need to change, and how we apply the security approach that we have from discovery, understanding the scope of the effort and where we have cryptography, to assessment, and then to remediation, of course, with the upcoming algorithms and tools that we have, and continuous monitoring to make sure that this progress can stay and we can maintain it. Of course, to be transparent and communicate, because this challenge couldn't be solved alone. I do want to highlight, I know that I don't have much time, but just to highlight a few examples of efforts that we developed at Microsoft. So basically leveraging quantum technology for the process, such as quantum key distribution. We understand that there will be use cases where this technology could be useful and valuable when it comes in a hybrid mode together with quantum safe environments and the algorithms. We also perform some experiments with the PQC algorithms, so between data centers, in our services. We implemented cryptography bill of materials with GitHub Advanced Security, and of course, implementing the PQC algorithms in Microsoft Cryptography Library, taking into consideration concepts like crypto agility to move quickly between algorithms, hybrid mode, and open approach, because we understand that there will be multiple implementations and we can't trust only one implementation, as we discussed. Lastly, I will say, we believe that this process, as I said, should be a collaborative effort and it cannot be achieved alone. So this is why we invest heavily in collaborations with standard-setting bodies, academia, partners, and all the ecosystem to make sure that we're moving forward to achieve quantum safety and to ensure security. So with that, thank you for the opportunity to talk with you about security today. I encourage you to take a look in our materials, and of course, you can reach out to me either here now after the talk or over email, and I would love to think about a topic together and identify collaboration opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for Inbar.